The Rundown. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, and as you know, I don't do this program alone.
I'm your co-host today. My name is Mike Poworski, and happy Monday.
Yes, we very much enjoy Monday. See, Mike, the thing about Monday, that the reason why it's one of my favorite days is because I've resolved myself to the fact that I will be working all week.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, I have half of Sunday off. That's basically my weekend. I'm a proponent, Craig, that we need another day of the week. I think we need an eighth day to try and gain back some of that time. And I think the name of it should be Fun Day, and it would come
You
between
know,
Sunday
I,
and
I
Monday.
would I would tend to agree with you. I mean, look, it, it, if it took God 7 days, right? I mean, how are we to
Yeah,
compare ourselves with God to get stuff done in 7 days? I mean, we at least need an extra day, right?
exactly. Listen, we could all be the Beatles and have 8 days a week. I think we should go from Sunday to Fun Day, then Monday. You got an extra day in there.
E-
Sunday, Fun Day, Monday, just like that.
Exactly. So let it be written. So let it be done. Have any fun over the weekend?
I did. I went back to to Lakeland, Florida, to the Sun and Fun Air Show. It's about a 9 day long air show. Watched the culmination of it. Got to watch all sorts of cool fighter jets and airplanes and helicopters and chicks and guns and fire trucks and all sorts of crazy stuff going on over there.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. I just actually just spent the weekend, quite frankly, cleaning out the garage and then celebrating my son's birthday. So we had a good time. It was what's really neat about having adult children or children who are now adults is the ability to be able to share adulthood and adulting and watching someone who you saw them when they were a little kid and you're like, wow. And now all of a sudden they're adulting. It's the weirdest thing, man, but it is so much fun.
How many of his bills are you still paying?
I'm not paying any of his bills.
That's when you start enjoying it. That's when you start enjoying it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun stuff, fun stuff.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and get into today's stories. All right, we're going to start in the state of Texas. Now, Texas is known as a state that's pro-gun. And we've noticed that there's been some challenges there, once again, as people from various different anti-gun locations like California have moved to the state of Texas. But Texas wanted to reassert itself as a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and thus a bill has been introduced that would allow for constitutional carry or permitless concealed carry in the state of Texas. Now, you might think, well, okay, well, how is that really kind of big news? Well, it's big news because a number of firearms trainers and gun store owners have actually come out in opposition to the bill.
Yeah, listen, Texas just got more Texas, and that's about the only way to explain it. Uh, the resistance we're seeing here, are people that have not taken the time to educate themselves. I'll say that because I'm trying not to throw these normal Second Amendment supporters under the bus. Now, we do know that there are people out there in the training industry and in the gun business that are not necessarily Second Amendment people. They're just business people, and they happen to be in the gun business. But these people here, these ones that said this, and I'm pretty sure they spoke without thinking is what's going on. Now, we've seen this in many, many other states, or up to 20 states now, with some form of constitutional carry. And that's where they say, wow, I'm afraid that if we don't have a training requirement anymore, then people just won't be trained and they won't know what to do. And I'm for training. Well, yeah, we all are for training. But what we're not for is mandatory training. We're not for training that you have to do in order to exercise your right. Remember the whole shall not be infringed part? That's
It,
what we're talking about. Any other amendment to the Constitution that you've got to go pay a fee, get a license, and get training before you can utilize it. You
well,
have to be careful what you say here.
yep. Exactly. And that's the thing. And I don't think there's any Second Amendment advocate who doesn't believe in more training. But once you start getting to the point where you start mandating stuff, right? What happens in cases like this, and you see it in all different areas, not just in gun stuff or in this particular case with firearms training, what happens is what was meant to be a floor becomes a ceiling. And people then believe, well, okay, well, if they're only mandating me to take a 4 hour class every 5 years, well, then that must be all the training I need. And people don't go get more. what we've seen in state after state where they actually don't have a firearm, don't have a training requirement, you've actually seen people on average get more training than if, because once again, these are people who don't just believe in rights, they believe in responsibility. And they believe that if I'm going to exercise this right and I don't want to lose all of my rights because I inappropriately exercise that right, well, then I need to make sure that I'm getting the appropriate training.
Yeah, Arizona was one of the first. I remember all of the Arizona instructors were so afraid that they were going to be run out of business because there's not going to be any training requirement anymore. Nobody was going to come be seeking their basic 4-hour minimum qualification class. And they were all up in arms. And this is the same arguments we heard from them. And then within days of the law changing, their classes were booked. They were 4-hour classes, 8-hour classes, 16-hour classes, 40-hour classes, because once you took away that mandatory minimums, people sought their own training. Now, was it 100% of everybody? Probably not. But guess what? 100% of the people that take that class don't carry anyway. Those people that took these extended classes, these higher knowledge classes, are those that accepted that responsibility and carry their firearms. This is a good thing. And I'll just say it again to my friends and folks out there in the firearms community: be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. We all want to see training. We get that, but be careful how you say it. Otherwise, you're going to end up on the wrong side of the gun and anti-gun movement.
Well, you know what? And perhaps maybe as a part of gun safety, if they were actually using resources to actually promote firearms training, to promote gun safety training, that would be the best way to do it. Why not promote it instead of saying, well, you have to have a permit or in order and then require them to take the training in order to get the permit? Because here's the problem. The problem with the permit is that it's basically where they take your rights away and then they charge you a fee in order for you to be able to exercise your rights. That's called an infringement. Plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly right. Could you imagine that any place else? Listen, due process. Listen, we know you've got due process. We know you have your due process rights. But what we're going to do is first you have to give us $500. You have to take a 4-hour class on due process. Then we'll give it to you. But the due process is only good for 4 years or 5 years. Then you got to come back and re-up to get your due process. You got to pay us again.
Right. But yeah. So in the end, what really comes down to is they're just not, once again, they're just not thinking it through. And they're not thinking, they're not looking at what's actually happened. They're looking at what they either hope will happen or they think will happen. And they're concerned for their own business, as opposed to actually looking at the statistics and the evidence as to what will actually happen. And, that's the same thing with, quite frankly, with our current president and his view and his vision for gun control. I mean, we all know when he came out with his with the stuff that he came out with, the executive orders, and started talking about his plan for gun control and his pushing for more legislation, it wasn't based on the facts. It wasn't based on anything that's happened. It wasn't based on the fact that gun control hasn't worked wherever it's been instituted. It's all based on hopes, wishes, and prayers. And that brings me to this piece that I found really interesting that was at Truth About Guns. And he's basically pointing to and talking about how Joe Biden is really trying to utilize, hopes, wishes, and prayers in order to push his gun control agenda. One of the things that he noted in there was that so he talks about how it's the only industry that can't be sued, which we all know is a big fat lie. But the funny thing they had in here was a quote. He said, "But this is the only outfit that is exempt from being sued. If I get one thing on my list, Lord come down and said, Joe, you get one of these. Give me that one," he continued, "because I'll tell you what, there would be a come to the Lord moment these folks would really would have real quickly." The point that he's trying to make here is, it's just funny that he's actually praying that the Lord will give him this one thing so that they can sue firearm manufacturers.
I'm sorry, Craig. I was praying for Joe Biden to admit he cheated during the election and he concedes it to President Trump. I'm sorry. I was praying there for a moment.
You need Jesus. You need Jesus.
Listen, That's how he thinks he's going to pass legislation. I mean, listen, he's already cheated to get the election, so I guess we're going to go from cheating to praying. We're going to try and convince people that God is on the side of you not being able to defend yourself. That's where we're going to go. That your God-given right of self-defense is not your God-given right. What you want is the congressional mandates that you cannot defend yourself, and we'll pray to God to get what God gave us taken away.
Perhaps Biden missed the scripture where Jesus said, if a man does not own a sword, he should go sell his cloak and buy one.
Have to be able to defend your family. If you're not able to defend your family, then listen. Are you a man? Or are you the leader of your family? How about that? We don't have to say man. Are you not somebody that takes responsibility for the safety of those around you? Or are you the sheep that I will follow, I will obey, I will dial 911, and I will wait. Yeah, well, listen, we know what happened in Indianapolis. Guess what happened? Dial 911 and wait and wait and wait. Oh, right. The killing's already done. The kid's already over.
Here's the thing. You have a right to self-defense, but you also have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to defend yourself and those that you care about. And as with any other responsibility, right? If you're going to take on that responsibility, you need to be properly prepared, which means you cannot have your right to defend yourself infringed. And for him to basically pray that these entities, these companies that actually help facilitate this fundamental human right, for him to pray that they would be sued so that they would be put out of business, it to me it's sacrilegious is what it is.
I'm kind of torn because, on one hand, we're saying, Joe Biden, stop praying for ridiculous nonsense like this and making a public spectacle of it. But on the other hand, I hear MC Hammer in my head telling me I have to pray. Pray, pray, pray. You've got to pray, pray.
One day you are going to be standing before the Lord, and the Lord is going to say to you, Mike, what was this?
I'm going to go, Your Highness, it was Hammer time.
It was all in the name of comedy, Lord. It was all in the name of comedy.
It was Hammer time.
All right, well.
It's Monday, folks.
It is Monday. So moving right along, talking about comedy. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to see the new video that's been put out by Project Veritas. Now, Project Veritas is a group that's out there that does kind of those undercover videos, where they secretly record people, or in particular people on the left, admitting that they've done horrible things, whether it was Planned Parenthood or a number of other groups. This particular case, there was a CNN producer that they recorded basically admitting that their coverage, they utilized their coverage in order to defeat President Trump in the last election, where they basically admitted that CNN was siding with Joe Biden and slanted their programming in order to make sure that they promoted Biden. In fact, here's a small snippet of the video that you, and by the way, the link to the whole video is in the description to this video, but you got to watch these things, man. Anyway, just check it out real quick.
Look what we did. We got Trump back. I am 100% going to say it. And I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out. Our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of fear, like climate?
Yeah, fear sells. Fear sells. No one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious.
And what is it you do?
Technical director. It's one step down from director.
Can you believe that, Mike?
Listen, the only surprise here is that CNN got caught doing this. We all knew this was happening. We all knew that every media source found any reason they could to go against President Trump and side with whoever his opposition was. We knew this. We knew this, and that's the big surprise here is that CNN got caught doing what we all knew they've been doing for years. And of course, James O'Keefe there at Project Veritas, because he let an actual video go of CNN's actual statements.
Right.
So he played what they actually said, and now he's been removed from Twitter.
Right. Well, because once again, and it's funny because Twitter, they're like, well, it's unsubstantiated, and they didn't, it was recorded against, it was recorded against as well. And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute, how much of the stuff, the stories and the muck and the mire against President Trump, did Twitter allow to be shared via Twitter, and they didn't care anything about it? How many leaked emails or leaked messages or things like that were leaked from the White House did they allow to be reported on and talked about? And they had no issues with it then. But now all of a sudden they have an issue. They have an ethics issue. Get out of here.
Well, sure, they caught their guy. It was their guy that got caught with his pants down. So we're going to have all the issues in the world with this. It's just ridiculous that he has been suspended from Twitter because allowed the truth to get out. That's just all the excuses in the world. Everything you just said, Craig. Well, it's unsubstantiated. It was they didn't know they were being recorded. Crap. You guys got caught with your pants down, and you're trying to cover for it.
Well, they're trying to cover for their friends over at CNN. That's exactly really right. That's really all it's about. And talking about covering. So I think all of us know, and all of us are starting to see, for example, rise in gas prices. And it's funny because there was actually. I've seen posts on Facebook that have actually been fact-checked where they're saying there hasn't been an increase. Someone said there was a 50-cent increase in gas prices. I know for a fact in my area there's been at least a 40-cent increase in gas prices since President Biden became elected. But they decide they want to fact-check it. What we're seeing, folks, now is we're starting to see an increase in inflation, right? And a part of that increase in inflation is the increase in gas prices. And other things, especially, whether it's tied to the closing down of the pipeline, whether it's canceling of leases for fracking, whatever it is, or jamming trillions of dollars into the economy, we're starting to see inflation. And now you've got Axios out with an article that admits that we're starting to see inflation, but at the same time they're saying, well, nothing big, nothing to see here. In fact, it's not even the fault of the administration. It might just wind up being a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling inflation. Did you hear that, folks? Self-fulfilling inflation. I haven't heard that much malarkey since somebody said it depends on what your definition of is. It's just a load of crap you're being fed. Gas by me, Craig, has gone up $1 in the past 4 months. $1 from $1.71 to now I'm paying $2.79 on average where I am in the Southeast. So it's ridiculous. And for those of you that don't remember what inflation's like, that's 25% interest rates on your home loan. That's 15%, 10 to 15% on a car loan. That's no gas today. That's if your tag has an odd number in the last three, you don't get gas on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You get Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturdays.
Yep, Jimmy Carter.
That's what it is. That's what the last time we really faced inflation. I recall it well, and it's not fun, and it's not self-fulfilling. The only thing that's self-fulfilling is we knew that Biden was going to lie to every one of us, and he did. He fracking lied, folks. Can I say that? He fracking lied.
And on top of it, he's going to be coming back with tax. So we're already seeing that he's increasing regulation. We're already seeing that he's increasing costs by decreasing the supply of fuel, which basically transports everything. He's flooding the economy with money. So we're going to see our prices go up. It's going to happen. And the thing that just makes me so mad about it is now you have Axios admitting it's going to happen. But they're trying to say, well, it has nothing to do with the stuff that Biden is doing. The reason why the economy grew beyond anything that President Obama was able to do was because Donald Trump got one very important thing right. When people say that there's nothing that the government can do, that the government doesn't create jobs, they can't grow the economy, but what they can do is get out of the economy's way and let it grow itself. Let the market grow the economy. And unfortunately, we have a president now who doesn't seem to get that.
It's pretty simple. Make America great again. We brought manufacturing back to America. We lowered the tax rate here in America. We brought the jobs back. We became self-sufficient on our fuel. There's that lightning strike again. You see that? We became self-sufficient on our fuel. We netted more fuel than we were using. Now that's gone. Now it's gone. Shutting down both the pipelines there. And watching the prices go up. Watch OPEC jack them oil prices up again on us because they know we need it, and they know we need it, and they're going to take advantage of weak old Biden up there, old Sleepy Joe. Here you come, folks. And listen, Craig, don't forget what else we got going on. This is the year that all of those little $15 an hour minimum wage jobs that everybody's been putting in the law over the past 2 years or so start to come into full effect.
Yep.
Add that in there. You want to know why your hamburger at McDonald's is going to go up to $13? Yeah, because you're paying the guy $15 an hour back there to flip it. It's not a career.
Well,
it's meant to be your high school job, okay?
Well, but you know what? And in those areas, what's happening is you've seen the cost of price and regulation. Well, now that so many people are working from home, those people are now able to move to other parts of the country that are more affordable. And they're selling their homes in places like LA and San Francisco and New York. And they're buying homes in other areas, not just within their state, but within other states. And they're jacking up home prices. So, I mean, you're literally seeing it happen in multiple ways and in multiple areas. And so much of it is Joe Biden's fault. So much of it could have been mitigated by the president by just getting out of the way of the market and let the market work. But he's just not going to let that happen.
And he lied to every one of you about it. Oh, we're not going to tax households under $400,000. Wrong. Lied. Oh,
right.
we're not going to raise capital gains. Lied. We're not going to tax anybody but corporates. Lied. Done. Lying
right.
to you. No, we're not going to stop fracking. Lied.
Well, did he lie or did he just not remember?
I believe I misremembered.
I misremembered. Okay.
Hey,
one more story before we get into our parting shot. There was a story that we reported on to you about a professor who actually was disciplined and potentially fired because he had a student who was I don't remember if the student was transgendered or was gender fluid, but wanted the professor to use a specific pronoun, a pronoun different than the gender that the individual was born into. The professor was disciplined, severely disciplined, eventually wound up going to court. And well, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals has come back and said, yeah, no, you cannot discipline a college professor and take away his right to freedom of speech. He has a right to freedom of speech, and you cannot force him to use pronouns.
Yeah, this is Shawnee State University there in Ohio. Professor Nicholas Merriweather. And by the way, what a great American historical name, Merriweather. I love it. Yeah, he told the student and wasn't rude about it. Wasn't didn't make fun of the student's condition. Just said, listen, there's him, hers, there's he, and there's her, and there's she, and there's he, and that's what we're going with here. Nope. Filed a complaint. At first I think they said, listen, we're not going to do anything about this. You take care of this. And then the student continued. Got one of the organizations involved there, and they took action against this professor. And good for him, Craig. This has gone up and finally shown, at least in the Sixth Circuit, that listen, this is the place where you should be able to. This is college, to express openly your opinions. You have the exchange of ideas, but that's it. We're going to lock you, professor, into what we want you to say and not expand on these students' knowledge.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly what I was thinking. Universities used to be a place where you talked about hotly contested, or you had these sorts of discussions about controversial issues in society. And anyone who says that this is not controversial, I don't care which side of the thing you're on. It's something that is a part of our society, and it's something that needs to be discussed, something that needs to be debated. Otherwise, we're not talking about education. We're talking about indoctrination. And I just got through reading Thomas Sowell's book, Dismantling America, and I loved it. He calls it artificial. He calls the indoctrination of higher education. He calls it artificial stupidity.
Yeah, I like that. Artificial stupidity. Yeah, that's where you end up. That's where you end up. You end up with being fed one side and we're going to influence you and give this to you, and this is what you're going to take, and you're going to like it, and we're not going to allow for any deviation left or right. And that's what you get. You get people in the White House that pray for gun control, and that's how we're going to get it done. Because
I'm not saying you have to agree with both sides. I'm not saying you even have to agree with the other side. But if you are only going to subject yourself to hearing one side of an argue, one side of a debate, and not hear all different perspectives, it's like saying, imagine me describing America based on Sacramento, California, and then you describing America based on what you have there in Orlando, Florida. Well, is that all America is? Does that fully give someone an understanding and an idea of what America looks like? No, because it comes from a bunch of different perspectives. So it's important to get everybody's perspective.
Yeah, could you imagine the debate team there at Shawnee State University? You get up there and you got one side that says, listen, we believe that the Second Amendment is an enumerated right and a fundamental right. And then the other side goes, yeah, no comment. No comment. We're not allowed to speak. We only have one side here. No matter what it is, we only have one side.
Well, one of the things I want to, speaking of one side, now, you guys know, yes, we are going to make fun of the president because that's what we get to do here. Look, it's our show, so we get to do that. But Mike, just go ahead and introduce this video because this had me cracking up when I saw it.
This here's the president, and he's out this past weekend. He's I'll show you. Let's just show you what he does. Here you go.
President Biden visited Arlington, who voted for him last year.
At least he was grateful.
That's some funny cheat, man. That's some funny cheat. There's a guy going on right there. Yeah, listen, he's out there thanking his voters, and if you notice, he stops and thanks a couple of them more than once because they voted more than once.
Exactly. They voted more than once. Man, it's funny because it makes me laugh, but it also makes me sad because that when people are passing these voter laws all across the country, they really are pushing for voter integrity because they want people to have confidence in the vote. And whether or not, and I know some people 100% believe the election was stolen. Some people are like, well, I just need to see the evidence. And some people absolutely say there was absolutely no fraud, no abuse, no nothing. I'm like, dude, this last election was a hot ghetto mess. And if we don't do something about it, you are going to have an entire country that's going to lose faith in what is the linchpin in our democratic system.
Listen, this past election, yeah, I love I need to see proof. How many more times you got to watch the videos of them pulling stuff out from underneath the tables and counting them on? How many more times you got to watch the statistic anomalies of 400,000 people voting on an absentee ballot for Joe Biden only, and then when you compare it to how many did it for President Trump, it was 800. That's a statistical anomaly. It cannot happen. Folks. Craig, this is what drives me nuts: is that you and I both know they're lying. And they're lying through their teeth, and they're smiling at you while they're lying and saying, "No, it's not. We're doing this because it's racist. You want racist laws." And they're lying through their cheating ass teeth because they know it's the only way they're going to win an election.
Anyway, folks, hey, that's going to be it for this edition of The Rundown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please remember, if you're watching us on Facebook, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Like, share, and tell your friends and subscribe.
That's it. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Orale.